Happy Tuesday. How y'all doing? We've got Instagram with us as well. How's everyone? It's really funny. I had yes, okay, I can see it that way. I can see the comments as well. There's probably a better way to do all this, but we'll get it sorted. Two funny things to share with you before we dive into our topic. We're going to talk objections and we're going to talk a really simple way to navigate them, all the great things there, but two things. One, apparently it is Halloween in a second. I was about to say Thanksgiving. I had a team meeting with my OBM with Amanda this week, and we were joking that I legitimately don't know what day of the week it is half the time. And I need her to remind me all the dates, all the things. So I was laughing that I should pretend that I know what day of the week it is and come on with like Halloween ears or something. But I'm going to keep it very real with y'all. I actually don't know what day of the week it is half the time. And I am very grateful for things like scheduling systems and a team, because I would forget that Halloween is coming up and only know it because there are pumpkins everywhere. The other thing that I'm cracking up about, that I always have tech stuff going on before, because we have Instagram live as well. Before going live here on Instagram, I've got a tripod for it, and the tripod was falling over into our screen here. So for all of you, this is, I'm going to outsource this. I'm going to Tim Ferriss this. Does anyone have a tripod they love for having your iPhone on that? So when I go live, I'm on my computer here, and then Instagram, I'm on my phone. So if any of y'all have a tripod you're loving for phones, particularly, I have one of the new iPhones, one of the big ones, drop it in the links. Let us know. Let's help everyone out with this, because mine ain't cutting it, y'all. Hi, Jen. Hi, Marie. Nice to have you live. Hi, Stephanie. Oh, fun faces here, and I can see the comments. So excited to hang with you. Okay, let's dive into our topic. I know I'm just like wanting to chit chat today. I'm feeling very chatty, Kathy, but we have got things to talk about with sales. So for those of you who are live, anyone watching in the replay, this live is something that's been coming up. It comes up with clients all the time, but I thought it would be a really great conversation to bring here. And we're going to talk specifically about navigating sales objections. And so if you're watching, you don't have to, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts about sales objections. Love them, hate them. If you feel they're yucky, gross, weird, uncomfortable, Instagram as well. You can shout out a word that comes to mind if you want to. You don't have to, but I think it's always helpful for other people, because I know when I talk with clients about this, I know so often people either feel like they're yucky or gross or manipulative, or like they need to know a script for like the right thing to say to be able to navigate it. I know I've had clients tell me that they're like searching the interwebs and have taken a million interwebs. Does anyone even say interwebs? But they're always searching for like a course and a script that's going to tell them exactly the right thing to say so they can convince someone to buy from them. Or when an objection comes up, they hear no and they just end the conversation. So I want to normalize, because I think that is, I don't see anyone chiming in, but that's okay. I think it is pretty normal to have those responses. And I want to break that down, talk about why that happens, and then really talk about the biggest opportunity with sales objections and navigating them, because I think there's such an opportunity there, and something that so many entrepreneurs, for all the reasons we're talking about, because it feels awkward, because it feels like, oh, this is the part of the conversation where it's like, I was loving it up till now. I was loving talking about what I was doing. And now that someone has said I can't afford it, or I need to talk to my husband, or I don't have enough time, or I need to wait until the kids are out of school, or I'm moving, or whatever the objection might be, it's almost like that's when we're like, can I just like slink off of this call or Zoom call? Or I think the response most people say is, okay. And then sometimes like, can I follow up with you later? So we're going to talk about why that happens. We're going to talk about the biggest opportunity today with navigating objections, and then how to flip this around so you can book more clients. I'm going to give you this, it's going to be one of those things when I tell you, you're going to be like, really, Kim, this is what I'm watching this live for. I'm going to give you something super simple that you can do. And I'm saying that because I want you to see it can be super simple. And I think this is a place where it's really easy to spin out and get in your head. And I want you to see how this doesn't need to be a place to spin out and get into your head. And then I'm going to share a really practical approach I share with my clients. I feel like I shared this 3 times last week alone. So it's a really easy way to hook into this so you can get out of your head a little bit when objections come up, and just have an easier way to hook into those conversations without needing to memorize a script. Because I think there's nothing wrong with having a script and a framework from time to time for sales conversations. I'm not like anti-script, but I think what happens in sales conversations is we're often looking for a script the way we look for a secret or the magic bullet in business. And we're looking for something to tell us the exact right thing to say. And we feel like if we find that, then we can like not have to worry about the discomfort that comes up, and that's going to give us all the answers. And what I want you to see is sales is simply a conversation. and you're having conversations all day long without a script, and you know what to say because you listen and then you respond. And having a sales conversation, navigating objections is the same. So I want to give you some tools so that you don't need a script, so that when an objection comes up, it's not like, okay, what's that thing I memorized? Instead, you really just know how to listen and respond in the moment. So hopefully that feels good to you. As always, as we are chatting about this, oh, this is super delayed. Super delayed. Oh, interesting. Y'all, I'm gonna just pause for 1 second. I think, yes, okay. I think when I'm in the app this way, I can see comments better. I'm just changing my view because I want to make sure I don't miss comments. It feels like it's looking frozen on my side. Am I frozen, y'all? No, it's not in the group. Okay. Ignore me. I'm just when you go through Zoom, there's some funky things that happen. Anyway, so as you're watching now or on the replay, what I was saying is I'm here for you. That's why we're having these conversations. So if there's anything that doesn't make sense, anything that isn't clear, if you have a question around something specific, throw it at me. The comments are doing a funny thing on my side, probably not on yours. So if for some reason I don't see it, just copy and paste it and just bring it up again, because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. But I think we're fine. I think I just have a little bit of a lag between what I'm saying and what you're seeing. Okay, so what I thought to lead into this would be helpful to hear is actually an experience I had probably 6 years ago when I was at the start of before I started my business, and with a program that I was in when I was training to be a coach, learning to be a coach on the client side, and what happened when I had an objection. And I shared this with plenty of clients before. I don't think I've ever shared this on a live stream or anything like that. So I think it's a helpful lens for what I want to talk about. And then we can kind of go into the practicals. So if we rewind the tape back, it's good 6.5 years ago, I was in a coach training program with a mentor who I adore, who is brilliant, who is wonderful. So this is nothing about the program, but I remember when the program was finished, there was an option to enroll in like a small mastermind that was at the time at a fee that was far beyond what I could swing. So at that time, I'm trying to remember, I might not have actually started my business yet, or I had just started my business and maybe had like my first, like say 1 to 3 clients. So, and many of you know my story, but when I started my business, I was still working a 9 to 5 here in the city. And I live in New York City. I was living in downtown Manhattan. And I was sort of in that place where, and I say this just to normalize, every penny I made was literally enough to like pay my rent in New York City, buy some groceries, and then I like maybe had enough for coffee afterwards. But if I made anything extra, anything that was coming in through my business for clients, it all went back into my business to invest back into my business. It wasn't like there was a lot of cushion. So when this mastermind, when I was, given this option, the price tag, I think it was probably around, I'm guessing, probably similar to my rent. But I just remember sort of like, whoa, like I like, this is free. This is a stretch for me. Now, here's what's really interesting to understand. When I had that reaction, I very much wanted to be in the program. Like I really wanted to be in this. And I had also saved up a fair amount of money before starting my business, before I moved to New York City. So I did actually have, and that's what I had used to invest in my business as well. So I did actually have resources to invest in my business, to invest in myself, that I had intentionally set aside for that. It was just stretchy. It was just sort of like, oh, I want this thing. Like I want to be a part of this thing. I know I can learn from this. I know I can be a part of this, but I feel all of the contractions, all of the like funky things around, like, if I spend this money, like, I don't know if I can do that. And to be really honest, if I look back, there's probably a little bit of like, do I belong? Am I really wanted here? So all of those things, I'm sure all of you on the buying side, if you've ever made a higher ticket, a larger investment, can understand no matter how much you want it. And even if you can afford it, there's usually some stuff that can get kicked up, which I want to normalize, because I think so often in our online space, some of the teaching is if people want it, they just know. And if people are like ready and a hell yes, they just like know, and there's like nothing ever comes up for them. And so I really want to paint this picture and like help you see that that wasn't the case at all. Like I knew I wanted that thing and I was like ready to invest. I even had the resources, and all the feels and things were getting kicked up. And I remember I sent an email essentially saying, gosh, I wish I had it, but it was probably something around like how amazing it sounded. And then some like, I would probably be embarrassed if I saw it, because I'm sure it was some story about how I didn't have the money and how I couldn't afford it. And it was a big stretch. But maybe next time, I don't know, it was something along those lines, which I'm sure if I look back, I'd be like, Kim, come on. You can like stretch into your money mindset a little bit more here, but I didn't have all the tools I have now at that point, which is why I needed to be probably in that program. I'm just seeing, I don't think I can see your comments. So I don't know if you're saying anything because I'm on my side, I'm frozen, but then when I go into the group, I'm not frozen. So I really apologize if I'm missing y'all. And on Instagram, I can't see y'all comments. So thanks for being here. So I sent that. That was my objection, right? I sent that. And then here's what was really fascinating, y'all. I never heard anything back. And it was really fascinating. Then what happened for me on my side was, oh, she doesn't want me in the program. Oh, I'm not good enough to be in the program. Oh, it's really good I didn't spend that money because I probably couldn't afford it. I probably fail. I probably didn't fit in. They probably don't like me. All of my inner demons, it was like, that's what came out to reinforce. And it was really like, looking back now, I can see what I was really doing when I sent that email. What I was really saying was, I really want to be a part of this. I'm scared. Can you help me? Can you tell me like, it's okay? Can you help like walk me through this? Because it's a lot of money and I need to know it's okay. But I didn't have the awareness I do now to be able to say that. So it came out as, I can't afford it. This is expensive, whatever story I put into that email. So I share that with you here because I think what we so often on the business owner side think when we hear someone say, I can't afford it. I need to talk to my husband. I need to talk to my wife. The kids are in school. I don't have the time. I mean, fill in the blank for I'm moving. I'm trying to think of some of the ones I've probably heard them all at this point, right? What we so often hear, we hear that to mean no. And then we also hear that to not only mean no, we hear that to mean no, and I don't like you, or I don't like your program, you suck. And hopefully that's not what you hear, but I know because I hear it from clients enough that when they hear that objection, it's not even that they're hearing an objection. Oftentimes they're hearing along with that, they make it mean something about themselves, right? So first thing I want to just highlight here is like, it's so interesting to see if you take it from the story to share it from you, from the other side, from the client side. My objections had absolutely nothing to do with the person who was offering the program. They honestly didn't even really have that much to do with the program, right? But like, they had everything to do with me and my internal BS and my fears and my insecurities and my worries. And here is what else is really interesting to notice. They had nothing to do with what I was saying. And I think, again, I know we've probably talked about objections in some way before, and we're not going to talk about this piece too much today, but I often talk about how objections, it's really about the thing under the thing. And so often when we have an objection anywhere in life, not just in sales, when we have an objection with friends, with family, with our partners, with buying something, whatever we present with, right? Whatever we say, oftentimes that's just the safe thing we can latch on to communicate. We often don't just have the awareness for what's really going on and getting kicked up. And so oftentimes it's really about something underneath the thing under the thing. The thing under the thing for me was really that I was freaking out, right? Or that I didn't feel accepted, or I didn't feel wanted, like whatever those things were there. So I share that with you again, because I think we want to start to see, like, why do we have such, it's really interesting, I think, and just check in with yourself as a business owner. When someone gives you an objection, do you, instead of getting curious about them, do you take it to mean something about you or your program? Do you internalize that to mean, I don't like you, I don't want this, I think there's something wrong with this? Because what's really interesting there is to notice that's a really big opportunity on the mindset side. This is not the biggest opportunity here, though that is the opportunity. I'm going to give you the actual objection opportunity. But just from the mindset side of things, that's a really interesting place to see. That's the personal work for all of us to do, whatever gets kicked up there, right? That's the personal work. And to see, it's generally not about you. And I'll give some examples here to see, like, there's like one time when it could be about not you, but your offer, but most of the time it's not. But really the biggest opportunity, and I'm just gonna see real quick, I feel like I'm super all over the place, y'all, today, but I'm having light showing. I don't know if anyone watching on the live is able to just say, like, you're frozen or not frozen, but no, it doesn't look like I'm frozen. Okay. It doesn't seem like I'm frozen. Instagram, thanks for bearing with me. Hey, Hannah. I have a really funky feed going onto the Facebook group. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't frozen, but it looks like I'm not frozen. But in terms of the objection itself, so let's talk about that now that I keep getting distracted by technology. Thanks for bearing with me, y'all. On the mindset side, I think the opportunity there is starting to notice that it's really not about you. And whatever comes up there, that's your objection. That's your objection to overcome for yourself. So if you're noticing when someone gives you an objection, you're like, oh my God, they're not like me. Oh my God, they're saying no to me. Oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. Oh my gosh, another person said no. This is a place to pause for yourself after the call and like, what was going on for you there? What's the thing under the thing for you? That's your personal objection. That gets to be your personal mindset work to do. And the solution for that is going to be the same solution I'm going to give you here for sales objections. But what I want you to notice here is if I use, going back to that story I shared, and what I was sharing with you is what I really, when I share that objection, what I was really craving is a response. I was really craving someone to have a conversation with me, someone to support me, someone to say, hey, I want you, I like you. Here's why the program's a great fit for you. Here's why it's safe for you to invest. Let's talk about this. Again, I wanted that. And I actually had the resources, even though that's not what I said, because I was just internally freaking out. I really just wanted someone to support me. And something I share with clients all the time that I'll offer to you, if you're someone who offers something that's a high ticket offer, so something that isn't, a $27 course, anything that's on the higher side of the investment, most of the people you're talking to have probably never made an investment that large in their life before. Hey, those of you who are on Instagram, thanks for joining. Most people who you're talking to have probably never made an investment that large before, unless they've like maybe bought a car or a home or gone to college, right? For those of us who are, asking for investments that are 4 or 5 figures. And so of course, if that's the case, it's pretty normal that some stuff is going to maybe come up and that they might need a second to make a decision and that they might need some support to make a decision. I don't know about any of you, but if you've ever bought a car before, if you've ever bought a home before, if you've ever gone to college, trying to think of some of those other big decisions you've had to make, you probably needed some support to make that decision. You probably needed someone to walk you through that. You probably had some question marks come up, even if you wanted whatever that was. And so I think it's really helpful and empathetic to remember that about the person you're talking to. And so when an objection comes up, you're like, well, of course they're feeling that way. Of course they're thinking that way. Of course, this is a super normal thing. This is a big decision. It's a big investment. And that doesn't mean anything about you or your offer or anything like that. All that means is they're a human going through a decision that's kicking up some things for them. Right? Super, super normal. Thank you for the love, IG. So super, super normal. And then the biggest thing, the biggest opportunity, and then I will give you some practicals around this, but this is the part where I'm like, it's going to sound so overly simple, but this is what most people do not do when they're having a sales conversation. Most people make it mean something about them and end the conversation. Most people do not say this has nothing to do with me. This is all about the person in front of me, right? When we're having a sales conversation, it's all about the person in front of you. The opportunity, the biggest opportunity when someone gives you a sales objection is to lean in instead of lean out. Most people lean out. Most people check out. Most people are like, how can I hide under the table? How can I get off of this call as quickly as possible? How can I figure out how to handle this in an email? How can I figure out how to follow up with you 6 months from now? Basically, how can I do something to avoid this? Or I think there's some well-meant schools of sales of school, however you want to phrase that, that teach or argue with the person in front of you, right? Try to argue and tell them why they're wrong. I think there's a lot of this is how you navigate an objection, argue with the person in front of you. Arguing with the person in front of you is not actually leaning in, that's still leaning out. When you're arguing with someone, what you're doing is saying, I don't hear you, you're wrong, and you're creating a conflict, right? That is not leaning in to support someone. That's kind of the same thing as leaning out. It's basically saying, I don't hear you. So what I want to offer is that's really not, from my personal perspective, and I'm all about, I teach an approach that I call heart-centered sales. I really think about approaching sales as something that's heart-centered and comes from a place of service. I don't think arguing with someone and telling them why they're wrong and trying to use that as a way to make them feel bad or to try to manipulate someone into a sale is heart-centered or of service. And I really just think that's another way of leaning out instead of leaning in. So let me know if that makes sense to you, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Oh, Marie says I'll go with sound and video. Okay, I think the comments are back now. Thank you for letting me know that. I super appreciate that. And now I'm seeing these over here. So thank you. It's really funny. Any of y'all who go live, sometimes our like tech input is very different than what is the output over on your side. So thank you for that feedback. But let me know if that's making sense in terms of, even if you're arguing with someone that's really leaning out instead of leaning in. I use the example of politics a lot. I probably used that on here before, but if you think about, if you have someone who has a very different political viewpoint than you, or if you watch what happens during the political debates, when two people are leaning into a political conversation in a way that is supportive, in a way that enacts change, in a way that is useful for people watching, right? What do? They listen, they lean in, and they share their perspectives, and they have a conversation. But what do most people do when they're coming from two different political parties? They just argue. And what happens when two people are arguing about their political viewpoint? Both sides just dig in their heels more to prove their point. No one is listening to the other person. It just becomes about trying to prove your point and shove it down someone else's throat. And all that does, as soon as you get into arguing, as soon as you get into proving someone's point, all that does is have someone reinforce their argument on the other side, right? We see this if you have a friend who, let's say you're a Democrat, they're a Republican, and you try to have a conversation, you can listen and hear and go back and forth. And, maybe you can get some middle ground. If you have an argument and you argue, what happens? You just each fight for your, reinforce and fight for what you believe more and more. So it's really the same thing with a sales conversation. Not to go off on a tangent too much there, but that's why it really, if I call it leaning out, but if you're having a conversation with someone, a sales conversation, and an objection comes up and you start arguing with them or trying to convince them or try to manipulate them from that place, even if it temporarily has them say yes to shut you up, really all you're doing when you're arguing is encouraging them to reinforce whatever their story is or whatever it is they believe to be true. So I think it's really leaning out. But more importantly, for most of you, because I don't think most of you in my space, you are heart-centered, you are empathetic, you are highly sensitive, you are caring, you are of service. I don't think most of you are going around arguing or trying to fight with someone or trying to manipulate someone in a sales conversation when you hear an objection. My guess is you're like my clients, where it's more likely that you're going to tap out or lean out or want to get off the phone or think that it is manipulative to lean in or think that it's gross or think that it's icky or don't know what to do or freeze because you're having an internal response. So that's probably more likely what would happen for you. And what I want to offer here is the biggest opportunity you can do, if we think about that example I shared at the beginning, is just to lean in, just to listen. Simply, I cannot tell you how far listening and saying, I hear you. You're right, this is an expensive investment. You're right, this is a time-consuming program. You're right, I totally hear you. Saying, I hear you, and then can you tell me more about what's going on? Can you tell me more about what's coming up around that? Or can you help me understand more? I'd love to support you around whatever is coming up around that so that you can make a decision. It is amazing how simply leaning in, saying, I hear you, and opening up the conversation and being willing to hear and support someone and sit with them in their discomfort, how far that can go to support someone on the other side and to support them so that you don't have to convince them, you don't have to manipulate them so that they can really make their own decision, but actually feel held and supported instead of feeling like someone's arguing with them or like someone doesn't care. So remember what I shared at the beginning of this live stream, when I didn't get that email response and when I had that realization of, oh, all I wanted was someone to say, you're right. And I would love to have you in this program. And you're right, if you make this investment, that is stretchy. And can I support you around that? Can I support you around what's coming up, around that? Can I just hear you? Can I almost say it's okay and give you some permission or high five you, whatever it is I wanted to hear that. That's all I was craving, quite honestly. And if someone had given me that, I probably would have invested 5 times over. And so when I had that realization, the biggest lesson and takeaway from, and this is not to throw, I sincerely love that mentor. This is not to throw, who knows, she maybe didn't even get my email. This has nothing to do with her. But what I realized at that point, and one of the promises I made for myself, is I never want someone to feel like that when they're in a sales process with me. I never want someone to be sitting on the other side feeling like all of these things are coming up. And then because I'm not willing to lean in, because I'm not willing to get uncomfortable with them, that I'm essentially saying, you're right, you can't have this, or you're right, all of those fears and insecurities are true. I never want someone to feel that way. And so a promise I made for myself is I'm always going to lean in. And then it's up to the person on the other side with how, where they want to go with that. And that by leaning in, I can just open up a conversation without convincing someone or doing anything that feels slimy or argumentative or convincing or anything like that. And that really is the biggest act of service I can offer someone in front of me, because they get to then have that support to make a decision, to move towards what it is they want. And that's the big reframe I would offer there. I had one other reframe here I was gonna offer for you, and I'm just seeing here what I had in my notes. But one of the biggest reframes I would offer there is that it really is an act of service, but it's also a way to say, hey, this isn't about me, it's about you. Let me be here to support you, which again is an act of service. I'm going to give you a really practical tip for how to hook into this, but I'm just seeing here if we have any questions. Hey, Danny, thanks for the comment on Instagram. I'm not available for a debate on Instagram with this live, but thank you so much for the offer. We're just having a conversation here, but if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the comments if you have any questions about what we're talking about. We have people, that's the fun thing about going live on Instagram as well. You never know what comments you're going to get. So that's the biggest opportunity there for you. And what I want you to see there with the opportunity of leaning in and just opening up the conversation, being curious and not making it about you, that's enough to navigate an objection. Because again, what I want you to remember is you already know how to have a conversation. If you're here, whether you're a coach or a therapist or not, even if you do something completely different, because I think sometimes I have clients who are not coaches or therapists who, do something else in the service provider space. And sometimes like, yeah, well, this is really easy for coaches. It's easy for you to say because you're a coach. So like, these are the kinds of conversations you're having. And yes, I have conversations like this all day long with clients, and I feel like I'm great at sitting in discomfort with people, and I'm happy to do so. This is something everyone here in this space knows how to do, because you're having conversations all day long in and out of business with everyone you interact with. And everyone here has had a conversation and supported a loved one before through making a decision where maybe they've had some stuff come up. It's just, we forget those because those things you didn't make about you because it wasn't about your business, right? You've probably had a friend who had to make a decision for how to handle something sticky with their kids, or an investment decision they had to make, or a moving decision they had to make, or a school decision they had to make, or a relationship decision they had to make that probably had some sticky stuff come up for them. Anyone who has a friend or a loved one has had at least one conversation like that in their life, right? But we just forget that. We forget that sitting with someone in discomfort because it doesn't feel the same way, because those conversations you don't make mean anything about you. That's just all about your friend or your family member, your loved one. When it comes to your business, I think the easy thing to do is suddenly everything feels different because it's your business and money's involved and your offer's involved. And so it's really easy to personalize it and think suddenly it means something about you, how good you are, how expensive you are, if you're not charging enough, if you are charging enough, your price point, all the things that come up, right? And so what I want you to see is like, just look for that evidence for like where you have conversations and support people with their objections all over the place. If you have kids here, you support your kids and navigate objections probably every single day. You just forget that. You don't label them as objections, and you probably don't take them personally. Kids are a different thing. Maybe you take them a little bit personally, but it's not the same thing, I think, as in business. I think it's so easy to make that mean the same thing. So what I want you to see here is objections aren't about you. The biggest opportunity is to lean in. Simply opening up the conversation can be enough to navigate an objection, and you know how to have a conversation because you have them all day long. You don't need a script for that, right? All you need to be able to do is listen and then just talk with someone about what's going on for them, right? You know how to do that. And then here's what I offer. Not that there aren't other ways to navigate objections or there aren't other things that I support clients with. If you've taken my free course, Sell Out Without Feeling Like a Sellout, we have a whole week on objections. If you haven't taken that, y'all, if you haven't taken that, Instagram is a free 6-week sales course. I could sell it for thousands of dollars. You're crazy not to sign up for it. You should sign up for it. I'll make sure, I think it's kimargetsinger.com. Sell-out. I think that's it. I'll make sure we get the link. I should know that by heart and drop it in the links for you. And I think it's week 5. I think it's one of the last final weeks where we talk all about objections and different ways to navigate those. So of course, there are more tools you can have in your tool belt, but I want you to see it can also be this simple. And it's as simple as leaning in instead of leaning out. If you do that and you do nothing else, you are doing more than the majority of people will ever do. Right? more than the majority of people will ever do. You're doing more than 90% of the people who are having sales conversations. So that alone, you put yourself ahead of the game and you're more of service. And then here's a really easy, practical way that I share with clients. I think we did an Instagram story on this, a bite-sized biz lesson. If you don't know, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I do 3 short, like these are our weekly lives, where I'm usually 45 minutes to an hour, but I do like 3 to 5 minute lessons 3 times a week on Instagram and my stories. So you should definitely check those out. We have some really great lessons and they come usually from client calls. Something I shared with a client and shared on one of those that is just, I think, a really easy way to think about navigating objections and leaning in is to take the offer you have that you're offering and to practice thinking of changing the offer line for something else outside of your life, and to think about how, if someone had an objection with that outside of business, how you would approach that objection. So let me give an example, because I don't know if the way I described that makes complete sense, and I don't want to make it sound more complicated than it is. But essentially think about, so your offer, let's say you offer a 6-month coaching program like me, the offer line, I'm calling that. Change the offer line for something else. For example, having dinner at your favorite restaurant, right? That's a different offer. And then change the client line with someone in your personal life. So something outside of business, your kids, your husband, your wife, your best friend. Okay, so we've got client line, we're subbing that for someone different in your life. Offer line, we're subbing that for something different in your life. So client line, let's just make that your kids, or let's make that your spouse or significant other. Offer line, let's just make that going out to your favorite restaurant for dinner, right? And then objection line, you can have the same exact objection. I can't afford it. I need to talk to my spouse. I don't have the time, right? Whatever that objection is. And think, if that person in your life for that offer had that objection, how would you navigate that? What would you say to them? For those of you with kids, I always tell my clients with kids are like the easiest way to practice navigating objections. So change your client line for kids. Client line becomes kids. I'm calling this line in terms of like, if we had this as a sentence. So clients, pretend those are your kids for a second. Let's say the offer is eating your veggies at dinner, right? Or going to bed on time. And let's say objection, you can also change the objection line if it doesn't make sense here, but let's put an objection. I hate veggies, they're disgusting. I don't have enough time, whatever that is. Think about how you would approach this with your kids. Hopefully it wouldn't just be to scream at them and to say, eat your veggies, though no judgment. Being a parent is not easy. If that happens from time to time, there is no judgment here. But think about, I'm kind of joking here, so jokes aside, but think about for a moment, how would you have a conversation with your kids? How would you lean in with your kids? If you were having a conversation with your spouse, with your loved one, with your best friend, let's say your best friend wanted to enroll in, let's say she literally wanted to enroll and invest in a program for something she was doing where your emotionality, making it about you, is removed. And she called you to talk about that. And she was like, okay, I need to talk this through because I'm freaking out because I don't know if I can afford it. How would you have a conversation with her or him? See if you can take because what happens in business is your emotions, what you make your business mean about you, your fears, your insecurities. We talked about that opportunity at the beginning of our conversation in terms of all of the opportunities there for stuff to mindset work, to unpack for yourself, the objection to overcome for yourself. All of those tend to come up when someone has an objection in your business. And what I want to help you see is how to navigate objections. And when you remove yourself from it and your stuff from it, it's very clear. You know exactly what to say. You know exactly how to lean in. And yes, you can learn tools and absolutely sign up for the Sellout Without Feeling Like a Sellout course. But this will allow you to tap into those tools you already have, your style, your way that's actually really organic to you, that's of service, the way you like to be of service, without needing a script, without having to go watch a bunch of sales course videos and try to figure out the way Kim says it. You can figure out, well, this is the way I say it to my kids. This is the way I say it to my wife. This is the way I say it to my husband. I know how to do this. Let me now practice leaning in now with clients. Let me practice leaning in the same way in my business. Hopefully that makes sense in terms of kind of how you can apply that. I think this is, and what I would offer, start to notice where you do this outside of your business, because then you can also start to reinforce, oh, I'm really great at navigating objections. I'm really great at sitting in discomfort with someone else. It's not a big deal. It also means nothing about me. When my kids don't want to eat the veggies, I don't now suddenly think I'm a horrible mom or horrible dad. When my husband doesn't want to go to the vegetarian restaurant I love, I don't now suddenly think I'm a horrible wife, or you don't suddenly think you're a horrible husband, right? We can see it's really not about us. And we can also start to see sometimes the objections people throw out have nothing to do with the objection at all. And the more we can support people with getting clear on what's actually going on, the more we can lean in, right? Sometimes your kids just want to be heard. The more, or your husband or your wife or whoever that is, the more we can actually gain some traction with moving forward in the sales conversation. Let me know if we have any questions. Same with you on Instagram, y'all. Let me know if this is resonating, if you have any questions at all. It is my pleasure to answer them. I want to make sure this feels clear, easy, and simple. Just seeing here in my notes if there's anything else I wanted to share for you around this. I think this was the biggest piece here. So just as a recap, super, super normal to have objections come up. It's also okay if they feel strange for you. If when objections come up, you do want to crawl under a rock, or you feel like you want to, avoid it. I think something I often remind clients, especially for those of you here, right, for our space, something I like to remind people is, I think sometimes you can also feel extra resistance. If you've ever been on the buying side and had a bad experience, when you've had an objection and had someone not handle it in a really heart-centered or service-based way. Or I think sometimes in the healing spaces and the therapy spaces in the healing world, I think it's actually taught that it's really not okay to talk about money, or not okay to talk about those things. And so I say that again, just to normalize, if like this is not a place to make yourself feel wrong, if navigating objections kicks up stuff for you, kicks up your own objections, makes you feel like it's something you want to tap out of, that's just simply an opportunity to see, oh, there's a reason for this. This is an opportunity for me to get some clarity here, unpack some of what's coming up for me so I can shift through this. And then again, objections are super normal. People make objections all the time. And that's part of often our decision-making process. It's sort of like, what's the thing I'm thinking of? It's almost like what we fight against is what we often want the most. What I also want to offer you is, if someone has an objection, that is not the same thing as someone saying no. And so this will be the last piece I'll actually close on. This is what I want to share at the beginning. There's a very big difference between someone saying, no, I don't want this. No, this isn't a fit. No, this isn't for me. If that's the case, please listen to someone and hear them. That's them making a decision. But an objection is not a decision. Right? An objection is not a no, it's also not a yes. And that's why I really believe with an objection, we want to get clear on what the objection's about and where it's coming from, because it isn't a clear no or a yes. Now, sometimes people give an objection because they don't know how to say no, because your program isn't a fit or they don't understand it. That's fair, but then we still want to get clear on that so that someone can say, hey, this isn't a fit for me. If it isn't a fit for someone, it's still not about you, but that's a really great reason. And, like if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. But we still want to help them make a clear decision. I probably said this 8,000 times, but I believe the goal of heart-centered sales is to support someone with getting clear on what they want and then making a clear decision to move towards what it is they want. Getting clear on what it is they want, making that decision. Meaning an objection is not a decision. It means they're not clear on what they want. We want them to get clear on what they want. Yes, I want this. Yes, this is a fit. No, I don't want this. No, this is not a fit, right? Either way. We want to help them get that clarity and then make that decision to move towards it. An objection is someone in indecision. And so I want you to see if our goal is to help someone get clarity and make a decision and move towards it, then your opportunity when someone has an objection is to really hear that is not a no or a yes. Let me lean in and find out what's true for them. Is it a no or a yes, right? Is it not a fit? Is it a fit? And they've got some stuff going on that I can support them with. So I think that's a really helpful differentiator for you. If it's a no, that is when it's a great place to just lovingly say thank you for the opportunity to connect with you. I hope we can stay in touch, right? Like that's fine. That's also not personal. That's where we don't need to lean in. So hopefully that difference makes sense. I think what happens, and if you've been on the receiving end of sales conversations that have felt yucky or gross, it's either been because you've said, no, this isn't for me, and someone hasn't heard your no and taken that as an objection, right? And tried to overcome that objection. And I think there's a really big difference between a no and an objection. Or you've had someone navigate an objection because I'm sure they've been well meant, but they've been taught in a way that has been argumentative or convincing, or someone's taught them a sales tactic that, a lot of times those things will work in the short period, that is manipulative and doesn't feel good. So again, if you've had that experience, that's a great place to do just some healing around that and to give yourself some grace around that. But see, that does not mean navigating objections is bad or slimy or icky or yucky. It just means the approach is what we want to be mindful of, and leaning in is a really beautiful of service approach. And just to put a recap, when we talked about that story I shared at the beginning, it can really feel supportive on the other side. And so often when we don't lean in, that's when someone feels like they're not being heard, they're not wanted, someone's co-signing their story that they can't afford it or they can't have it or they don't have the time. And oftentimes we don't know that when we're making an objection. So it's really of service to lean in so you can support someone through that. And then that final piece there as a recap, and thanks all of you on Instagram for being here as well. I don't think we have any questions here. The final piece is a recap there. Then if you're leaning in, really the simplest opportunity is to lean in, and you can make it as simple as I hear you. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I absolutely hear where you're coming from. Can you tell me more about what's coming up around that? Can you share a little bit more about why that feels true? You want to talk through that a little bit? Does this feel like a fit? And if so, can I support you with seeing how we might be able to make this work or feel comfortable for you? And I think a really easy tool to practice navigating objections, how you naturally would, your natural style, is to start to notice how you handle those outside of business in your everyday life, because you handle them all day long. See how you navigate those and start to practice bringing that same approach in to a sales conversation. When someone has an objection on a sales conversation, remember, it's not about you, and practice like in the moment. See if you can even think, if this wasn't about my business, if this wasn't about money, if this wasn't about my offer and my ego, how would I navigate this? If this was my kid, if this was my best friend, if this was my spouse, how would I navigate this? So I hope that is helpful for you all. If you have any questions now or on the replay, throw them at me. I'm always so happy to answer those. You know me at this point, I hope. I love sales. I love talking about this. So I would love to be a resource. Again, if you want that free sales course, Sell Out Without Feeling Like a Sellout, is a free 6-week course. I will make sure I drop the link for that. Get your butt in there if you haven't signed up for it. I think it's such a great resource. So I think you're crazy if you don't sign up for it. And then as a reminder for everyone, we have a podcast series. The first we've done on one question, unapologetic questions for unapologetic results, happening next week on November 1st. I had to think for a second, because like I said at the beginning of this live stream, I do not know what day of the week it is ever. It is the Be Too Much and Make Too Much Noise, Impact, and Money series, 5 episodes, Monday through Friday. They're mini episodes where we're going to unpack one question each day to really help you step into being too much and making too much. Because one of the biggest things I hear from clients is that fear of, I don't want to follow up too much. I don't want to ask for too much. I don't want to be too much. Am I posting too much? Am I sharing too much? Am I emailing too much, right? There's such a fear and concern around that. And what I've seen to be true over and over again is the more you're able to unapologetically take up space, own your work, be too much, the more that's the exact right amount that helps you connect with your people, serve people, make more money on your terms. So I'm super excited for the podcast episode series for the series. It's completely free. You don't have to sign up for it, but we did make a bonus playbook. We have additional journaling prompts in there aside from the 5 questions, and affirmations in there for you that go with the series. So if you want access to that, you do have to sign up so that we can send it to you. So I will drop a link to sign up for that for you below. It should be kimmargetsinger.com. I think it's 2-much-series, but I'll drop a link for that. I would love to have you, and I can't wait to share that with you next week. And then next week, I'll be back live again on Tuesday, and we'll hop and have another topic and conversation then. So all sorts of fun topics and content being thrown at you. Be sure to grab whatever you want. Questions, pop them into the comments for me. Jen says, thank you. So my pleasure. Thank you for being here. I'm always so grateful to have you all here. Like, sincerely, this is my life's work. I feel like this is my life's purpose. I was literally writing gratitude. You all want to hear what a cheeseball I am? I was writing gratitude today, and I was writing gratitude for all of you and for this community and for this community and for this group, and that I get to hang with you and that I get to share these conversations and that I get to share this content. I do not take it for granted that y'all are here. I know I talk for a long ass time, so I do not take that for granted. I literally wrote gratitude for that today. So I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you for being here. It is so my sincere pleasure to share this with you. So if there's anything y'all have questions around outside of this, topics you want me to cover, I usually go based off of what I'm seeing happen behind the scenes with clients. But if there's stuff y'all want, throw it at me, leave it in a comment, send me a DM, shoot me an email, let me know. I'm always happy to address it, assuming it's in my zone of genius and in my expertise, always so happy to do something around that. It's what I'm here for. So let me know, and then I will see you all next week on all the different platforms. Lots of love. I'm gonna, let's see, bye Instagram. We will end on the Instagrams, and bye besties and bosses. I love you all, and I will see you next week.